So I've invented something. I've stuck a bit of blue tack in the middle, taped 2 of these bad boys together, and then I've also invented this, where I've taped 2 lighters together.
I think that's stretching the word invention
I
a
think
little
you should
bit.
wait. But what? Look, move that thing behind you. Oh my God, he's going to come
Fucking hell.
Oh my!
There's the first swear word within 3 seconds.
Jesus.
Thank you, Zero FPV. That was for you, mate. Don't set that thing on fire behind you.
Jack, that was getting very close to your pop filter, mate. Is it Mel?
Yeah.
Good.
You're kind of half Janet tonight. Have you done your hair?
Apparently, he done his hair yesterday, but he won't. Not for us, but only does his hair for Twitch.
Have you seen this?
I'm so glad it's not me anymore. Mind you, I've just been told I've got to do it again.
Jack's making it even more dangerous, not safer. So
Doing it in enclosed spaces now, so you have to put a little tent around you next, Tony.
Yeah.
Everyone say thanks, Zero.
Thank you, Zero.
Mm-hmm.
That is truly terrifying.
Did it work though? Importantly, did a 2 lighter idea work? No. Did only one got?
Yeah, one's bigger than the other.
Yeah.
That's
Kind
what
of
she
like me
said.
and Tony's
I've got
friendship.
that problem. Yeah.
Ow. Burnt myself with the lighters instead of the actual fireworks. Oh.
And cue start.
I don't know. It's
can't break a
sod all. I was
tradition.
playing the great green screen. There's not really much going on behind me.
I thought, I thought like it was
Sorry,
hiding, like
No, I was just playing with it. I just
like
want to green screen it up, but there's nothing going on.
There's like a brothel going on in the background or something.
No,
so
it's not one of those.
Not.
It's not one of those like happy ending massages.
You're not just hiding one of Tony's dead hookers.
No, definitely not.
Oh, for God's sake, we need to address
I am
this
not
thing.
associated with Tony and his dead hookers.
I loved what Wayne had the best one before we went live. He said there's just a bunch of surgeons back there, like he was in hospital or something.
He's hiring out his flat just to make a bit more money.
Yeah,
I have got a scalpel somewhere. I don't know where it's gone.
So, Jack, do you want to introduce our guest before they arrive?
No, not really. I just thought we'd start live and.
Well, I'm just thinking maybe explain to the patient listeners why they're waiting for us to start.
Well, we've got the Aussie lads back on. Well, the Aussie lad and his son.
There are more than 2 Aussie lads.
Yeah.
You might need to narrow it down a bit.
Not final
very
ride.
fast one.
Yeah. And we're waiting for them to show up.
To be
Very
fair,
early in the morning.
it must be like 6, 7 a.m. Sure.
Yeah, it's more than that.
Basically, I just thought we'll go live, we'll chat just amongst ourselves, and wait for them to come on, and then I'll do the introduction.
Okay, let's do that then.
So,
can we chat about what you're wearing? Is that an actual shirt, or are you wearing your pajamas?
No, it's a shirt.
Looks like work clothes to me.
It is work clothes.
Wow.
Everybody does this show in their pajamas, though, don't they? Surely.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, look,
Just a bit of trivia. When we started on Twitch last night, Jack was actually just sat there in his pants and had to put his pajamas on.
I've got
just to lighten himself up.
God's sake.
I was pantsless. Just in my underwear.
It was very
which
around.
I don't think's allowed on Twitch. Found my scalpel.
Well, at least it's not in you.
I'm going to get a part of my body removed, Tony. If I put it in formaldehyde, do you want it?
Yes, I'll wear it around my neck. My little bottle.
Do you know what part of my body it is?
Call it Jack and stuff. Hopefully not your wiener. I probably wouldn't wear that round the neck.
Well, you agreed to it.
Are you getting your whole wiener removed? Are you proper Janet?
No, just the end.
Pretty sure that's not how that works, but
just the end. I think the end bit is the bit that you use the most, isn't it?
No, not really.
Just get the base removed and keep the end.
I'm sure if you agree to it, Tim, you could probably tuck it under your shirt most of the time. Anyway,
that's all right then.
I'd just
this
do
is the
that.
sort of content you can expect when you join Patreon.
We're sorry.
What should we talk about before? Should we talk about Brexit then?
Oh God,
no.
Tone,
No.
I've got a plan. Tone, read out who's in the chat.
Okay, let's have a little go through everyone. I'm just gonna flick up a bit.
Or shall I throw
Oh,
Jerry under the bus and be like, last night I got an email from Jerry being like, "What? No show tonight?" And then a couple of minutes later, he emailed me, "Ignore me, I've gone mad. It's Wednesday."
Oh yeah, I got that same email, which is funny because I do that to I haven't done it for a while, but I used to do that to Jack all the time. Jack could ring me up like and I think it was Thursday, and he's like, oh yeah, well, because like I'm always on Jack's computer looking at things, because I don't like, it needs
I love our latest edit, lads. I'm saving that for the live show.
You
so
cannot...
the live show at Popham.
No, you did not record that, did you?
Well, no, I've got it. We're gonna do the Too Hot for YouTube LDO special during.
You really no.
Come on, man. No one will. We'll sign NDAs. It's a super secret squirrel. Don't tell the police show.
I'm going to shout some people out. Win Davis, Aries, Falling with Star, did his sore ass or whatever his name is. I never get that right. I'm dyslexic and I can't. That's just Tony King, Clive FPV, Green Patches. Hello, Al Swishy's in the chat. Richard Warwick's in the chat. Zero, of course. Thank you, Zero. Green Patches.
Batwoman. Have you mentioned
Batwoman's in there? Who else is in? I think I saw Tornado Girl. She in the chat. What's up? Dave Story's in the chat. Gigawatts is in the chat. Hello, Gigawatts. Who else we got? Let's keep strolling. I think that's about it. Mr. Frost. Hello. G Law FBV.
If you miss anyone out now, they're gonna feel.
I know. Drone Racer, Mr. Fruity Cakes. I like saying that. RC Dude, Gary, of course.
Well, if we miss anyone out, just put in the chat now, and we'll.
Dave, NJ,
Tom Ocelot, Allsop,
Tom Ocelot,
Ladders, Peter Marshall, Fruity. All right, that's it. I've had enough there.
Sorry, you guys will get your full proper hour. We're just 20 minutes in. What's he doing?
They are on the other side of the flat planet.
Won't they fall off?
Well, really, there should be no issues if it was flat.
So, Tony, where am I going on holiday tomorrow?
Nowhere. It's Jack's fault.
You were organising it.
I organised it. Jack ruined it by saying I actually can't come out Friday, so we're not going.
I'm free.
Oh, you're all right now, are you?
Yeah,
so
I work today, so I can have Friday off.
Oh, well done. Well, thanks for telling everyone. I'm working tomorrow, so I'm afraid.
I'm not working tomorrow.
You're going to have to go and visit Jack, man.
Do you want to do something, Frank?
I mean, if nothing else, I'm going to work on my bonsai and get that back up to scratch.
I'm working with someone tomorrow and we're doing a drone inspection.
I feel that Frank's just out-nerded everybody by saying I'm going to work on my bonsai and get that up to scratch. What can you say to that?
Well, it depends what a bonsai in his eyes are. So they're there, but not there. Bonsai is in the thing you plant. What? Hello?
I delivered a little tree, I guess.
I'm going to get mine going.
This is what LDO's really like, everyone. If you're wondering why we're late all the time, it's so you don't have to endure this.
Oh, there we go. I think we can hear you guys. So who have we got there?
Are they going to find their camera?
Wait, with me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can. So that's
Oh, sorry, my brain's dead. Okay, this is my gaming PC, so it's got no camera. I'm waiting, like, Dad just got home, so he's probably gonna set up his laptop now. And then I'll
Cool.
just
Magical
jump on
talking
this.
logo.
Yay!
Or a webcam.
His dad's going to set one up. We'll go over to his dad's in a minute. Right, let's. Are we going to
intros then.
intros then?
Well, I
What
get
about the actual
Mr.
show?
Well, hang on. Paul's not here.
Okay, let's not
Yep.
intro then.
Shall I, every time Thomas speaks, shall I have Mr. Sock speak? Where is he? He crawled off somewhere.
Not surprising.
Does that mean I've got to present you every time that it comes to?
Yeah, maybe.
I think you should just go for it, Jack.
Right now, you're presenting Jack looking for his sock, which is awesome entertainment.
Yeah, let's just roll with the introductions.
Why are you called Tone Star NTV FPV?
That's mountain bike bombing something or other.
Oh yes.
Are you a traitor to the hobby?
No, I flew Saturday. I was with you.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, well done, Janet. You know, I was really ill and still came out.
Yeah, Jack showed. Actually, that's one of the reasons I ended up on Jack's computer is to install Adobe Premiere, and the idea was to teach him how to edit your flying footage. Unfortunately, it went in a very different direction.
Very, very different.
But
we were making that omelette that you were talking about.
Oh no, not this one again.
God's sake, you two.
Ah, well. Two
Right,
guys, the internet.
We've got poor guys. So go, Jack.
Paul, camera. Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Yes, I'm on. Work.
Right, so we got to run over 23 minutes. Right. Hello and welcome to another wonderful episode of Let's Grown Out. Tonight we are joined by Andrew / Frank.
Good evening.
What is a strudel?
It's a little kind of puff pastry pie thing.
That's the correct answer. We're joined by Andy RC.
Hello, everybody.
The chroma key master of the green grass. We're joined by BMS.
I like that.
Paul,
Hello.
long time no see.
Definitely.
Too easy, or whatever it is you say. We are joined by his spawn, Thomas.
Hello.
We're joined by what feels like my spawn because he's the size of a toddler, my little Tony.
Bonjour.
And everyone's favourite curry kitten.
Hello, and disclaimer. Any views expressed by any guests on this show are personal and may not reflect the views of the host. Also, the views of the host may not affect the views of the host either. So ignore everybody.
And it may not be true. Not everything is true, especially Tony and the dead hookers. And I'm bright until I fly.
Wow.
Only on LDO.
It's okay. Thomas is now of age.
Right. Right. Good. First of all, can we get the title of the show out of the way? What does it mean? Because I don't understand it.
Oi!
Yeah,
Paul, you're Australian. What does? If I call Tony a drongo, what does it mean?
Same as moron.
Yeah.
Things along those lines.
Tony's my little drongo. Anyway,
Oh.
can you decipher today's title?
What is today's title?
he hasn't
Where
read.
is it?
I'll read it. I'll read it out, shall I? It says episode 188. That's amazing for a start.
Not that far.
Then it says $20 Oz, a drone mate, crack the, and then bleep.
Shit. Crack the shit. What does crack the shit mean?
Oh gosh.
That's just Australian or what? Or what are you
Is it
talking
something
about?
that requires getting the ute or not? Is the question, I guess.
Do you guys have utes there?
No.
No,
We just hear them.
Okay. Okay.
we don't.
What
put you out of your misery. What we're asking about is there was a video that Bruce on RC Model Reviews talked about being an introduction of a $20 registration fee per drone in Australia.
Yeah.
Which means if you've got a wall full of drones, you're going to suffer. Is this true? Is this coming in?
Well, it is true at this stage. I know the MAAA, which is our sort of model aircraft governing body, they've just put out an email to all the members last night, probably about 7 or 8 hours ago. And what they said in that was if you're a part of the MAAA and you're flying at a MAAA CASA approved, CASA's our that manages all of our airways, CASA approved field, you do not need to pay any registration or anything along those lines. Where it gets complicated is, from my understanding, some of the clubs are covered by MAAA, but they're not a CASA approved flying field. And that's where it becomes an issue. And as far as registering every model drone you've got, that to me is just preposterous. That doesn't even make sense. I wouldn't even know how you would do that.
Is it just a proposal though at the moment, or has it been put in place?
Well, it looks like it's going to be put in place. It's going to roll out, I think, in about another 2 or 3 months' time. So it will be rolling out, from what I can tell, unless some major changes happen between now and then. But from what I can understand, CASA, which is our governing body, hasn't actually listened to any of the feedback whatsoever. Not from the model aircraft people.
So it sounds a bit similar to here, where they've decided to implement something, but they've no idea exactly how they're going to do that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So that's probably the biggest issue. I mean, any modeler knows the issue with trying to register every model. Our models are changing all the time.
If you're wondering why Jack's on fire, by the way, if you weren't aware, since your last visit, Jack and Tony have introduced this thing where if someone donates on Super Chat, they try and set themselves on fire for some reason. I still don't quite understand it, but everybody likes it, and it seems that it encourages danger. So while we have to pay $20 a drone, it seems Jack can just light fires in his house and have no consequences.
How many drones has Thomas got? If he went, if he had to pay.
Well, now I have many, but if I had to pay, then I've only got one working drone and a bunch of static displays.
Yeah, right. And he took his bunch of static displays out yesterday to fly them.
Well, no, the drone is the antenna that swaps between them all.
Do you have to specify which drone? Because I mean, if you're only flying one at any one time, then it's that one that you've registered, right?
I love how Andy's just
it gets even weird. It's like, so say you like repair a quad, right, out of pieces from other quads. Does this one quad count as 3 quads, or does it count as one new quad, or does it count as one of the old quads? Like, which $20 does it take from?
I mean, knowing the ineptitude of the
no one's there to hear it. Is it really a quad?
Well, the people that make these things will probably be saying, "What make is it? What is the serial number?" And to answer that question, you were like, "It's nothing." So I don't think they're going to be able to record them anyway. What are you going to say? It looks a bit like an X, and it's got 4 motors on the corners. It's like, oh, okay, we'll look out for that one.
Well, you'd just register one, wouldn't you? And then it's not. How can it be policed anyways? I mean, what CASA turn up and you go, oh no, all these other ones are just display ones. This is the one I've registered, kind of thing. You know, it's just that's madness.
I'm fascinated by this idea of CASA approved flying fields. Like, so they're gonna send an inspector around and be like, yes, you can fly here. This is safe.
This is a good field.
Yes, this is a field. I can validate this is an empty space.
Well, funnily enough, we have that. We kind of have that here, as in if you want your club to be BMFA affiliated, it has to meet a certain criteria, as in be away a certain distance away from buildings, people, and property, and stuff like that. It's just that if you want to fly elsewhere or whatever, you don't have to pay $20 or whatever.
Everything BMFA is all pretty much voluntary. Like, you're opting in.
Yeah.
It's not a requirement. It's not a legal thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yet. The thing is that they'll look at examples in other countries and think, oh, we can make a bit of brass out of this whilst going. That's how we'll pay for it. We'll charge $20 a pop. That's really
a lot of money, isn't it? Really,
it is a lot.
Is that as well? Is that sort of above 250 gram, or is it everything as well? I don't know.
Is your Roomba classed as a drone? Like, that's $20.
Yeah, it's pretty preposterous what they're proposing or the path they're going to go down. It sounds like they've already decided what they were going to do. Got feedback from the community and just ignored all of it. So, and the reason I say that is, look, as far as flying drones, which is what Thomas and myself essentially do, we're probably up there with the most well-known in Australia, and I'm not aware of anyone that I've dealt with or I've associated with that's actually been communicated with through CASA itself at all. Like, no one's actually, I don't know anyone that's actually spoken to them other than the MAAA. So, yeah, it's a bit of an issue.
It sounds like exactly the same thing as the government consultation here, where they put out a bunch of questions. Everybody said this is a terrible idea, and then they came back 6 months later and said, "Yeah, we're doing it all," pretty much.
Yeah. No, I think they're out of touch. That's what the issue is. And I think with Australia, it has to be a money grab. It's not about safety, because what they're doing has got nothing whatsoever to do with safety. So yes, that is.
I think we may have had a bit of dropout with you there, Paul.
Okay.
I understand the internet's not great in Australia for some reason.
Is it because you got the antenna upside down?
Yes. Well, wait a sec. Does Australia even exist? Apparently.
Yeah, Toad.
No, I'm not speaking.
I think Tony says it exists. He just thinks that there's a ring of ice that goes around it.
Don't forget the dome.
The dome, the turtles, the membrane.
I think we should stop this now.
I want to ask both Paul and Thomas. I'm gonna do something unusual and ask a lot of drone-related questions.
Wow, no!
What a spoil!
Because Paul's wearing a BMS racing shirt, and I noticed the logo change on the YouTube channel. It's still BMS Web, but you guys have got some new motors out,
yeah,
right?
I saw them the other day. They look good.
Yes.
I would think you talk about that.
Yeah. So I got some questions because first of all, I kind of don't follow. I think racing's kind of hard to follow. It still seems certainly over here a little bit underground, and over here a lot of people that I know at least have switched to freestyle, going to spots and stuff like that. So I'm sort of a bit out of touch with racing. But what I found interesting about Thomas's video regarding the motors was how you guys have switched to a high RPM setup. So do you want to explain? Because it's always sort of been said that high you don't really want high kV for racing. It's that middle part that you want for consistency. So the switch to higher kV, and also
because he's bought a Ford STI and he's crazy. He's loose. He's on the roads.
No, because isn't the 4S version 2700 kV, which is very, very high kV. I mean, I've always been a fan of the high kV motors as well myself, because I like noise. That is the reason why. That is nothing to do with like racing or anything.
Northern, it's his mating call. He's
it's like
breed with me.
Putting a big exhaust
stripes down it, and it'll be winning.
Yeah. Although I've since had to tame that down because of complaints of. Do you know what? We had the strangest interaction actually. Oh, this is going off topic a little bit, but we went to a location. It was a public footpath, and we were flying over this viaduct. It's going to be not under the viaduct, should I say? And it's
for legal reasons.
Yeah, well, there's no problem. There's no problem flying over a viaduct, I don't think. But anyways, we were flying, and this woman came up to us shouting, saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And we were like, "What?" She said, "Oh, we thought we heard a child screaming," and and it wasn't. It was my.
It's all right. Tony's not with us.
It was my high KV motors. And they actually said it sounded just like a child screaming. And we said, no. And then they were interested. And, you know.
Hey, Clarice, when they slaughter the lambs, it sounds like children screaming. Sorry.
Anyways, I've gone way off topic, Thomas. I apologize.
Yes, let them answer.
Let them ask the question, why the KV?
Why high KV for both 4S and 6S? Because you've gone 2000 KV for 6S, which is
Stop
very
talking, let them answer. He's gone away now.
He's gone away.
Let Thomas answer.
Okay, so I've been running, well, before that I was running those motors, I was running the, F40 Pro 2's 2600 kV, right? So that was basically right when we went to Team Motor HQ back in December of 2017. And it was shortly after that we started doing all the testing in the lead up to the Pro 3 and in the lead up to me making my motors. And so it was one of those things where, like, I'd played with the 60 Pro 2s and I could tell there was something going on at the higher RPM, but I couldn't quite work it out. I guess it just probably wasn't at the skill state yet to really take advantage of it. But then with just more experimenting and trying different props, I found I started to prefer having lower pitch props and basically just spin them up to a really high RPM. It just sort of gave the flight controller a lot more to work with. And then also you got the benefit of then, in order to have it, say, a grip racing quad, like say, more like sort of cornering acceleration, or to have more top speed, you just change the propeller rather than change the motor KV.
Right.
So it works out a lot more practical for racing, at least for me, where it means that I've got my 4S fleet, my 6S fleet, and that's it. I don't need anything else. I just have two different sets of props. Right now I'm just using the 5146 just because most props seem to work. So that prop seems to work on like pretty much every track. But yeah, this just seems to be a really consistent sort of setup. It's been really comfortable. That's sort of how I describe it. It's just like, doesn't do anything sort of weird, no weird quirks. On the 236.5, still at the very, very, very top RPM, like you feel it start to get a little loose, but that's just sort of the nature of the like less taller state of motors. But it's just been really comfortable.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, putting a high pitch prop on a 2700 kV 2207 motor, wouldn't that on a 4S, I imagine, would get quite a lot of voltage sag compared, though. So I guess, is that when you bring the 6S rig out kind of thing? Is that the idea, to have two for different tracks?
What we've found is, we don't really know the reason, but like if you use with the KV charts to sort of do a direct conversion from your 4S KV to make an equivalent 6L, it never handles the same. It's sort of similar, but you tend to have a little more of the power on 6L at the bottom end, and at the top end it tends to be actually less efficient than 4Cell. I'm not sure what the reason is exactly, but like consistently over different setups, different motors, we've found that. So we've built the 4S Sprint class motor to work better at sort of your upper sort of power band. So that's why I've also gone for like a 2207.5. Really sort of taking advantage of that upper RPM where 4Cell seems to work the best. And then on the 6L one, we're really focused on getting as much out of that bottom end, getting as much efficient bottom end power. Which sort of adds to that 6S efficiency. So if you run the 6L motor sort of like at the limit the entire time, I mean, it's track dependent, but like in general sort of thing, the 6L motor tends to perform then like about the same as the 4Cell in flight time. But if you just back off that like 0.2 of a second per lap on say like an 18-second track, you'll actually end up with a decent amount more battery left to actually complete more laps.
What do you prefer flying, the 6S or the 4S rig?
For me, it depends on the day. I've been flying both yesterday. On the track we set up, I was doing like 5-second laps on both. So I was like, do one, I'd be like, I really love this. I'd do the other one, I'd fly it differently. But I guess the way the track was set out, it would sort of wouldn't really favor either one. On the 6L though, I was running 1300 milliamp hours, so I ended up doing like 4 laps extra even on that small track. I guess it just didn't build up enough momentum where the weight mattered so much. So I really like the both. They're both different in their handling, slightly different characteristics. I definitely prefer the 4Cell for like your time trials, but the 6L is very consistent over the course of the entire battery. So like, while the 4Cell you might have, say on a 12-second sort of lap like track, you might have, say, your lap 2, lap 3, lap 4. They're like your best opportunities to set lap times, and the rest of the other ones are more like warm up and cool down. And then your 6S, pretty much from lap 2 to say lap 6, lap 7, lap 8, however far you go, it's going to feel the same. It's only when you like drop the battery to like 19 volts, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I've lost power.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you guys did a lot of testing. Was it just a case of literally going out to the field and just flying and changing props and changing batteries and changing motors? And was it a kind of, this feels better, or were you sort of like getting it on the stopwatch and really sort of
We run a
scientific?
lap timer for all of our testing. We do a combination of track testing and straight line testing. So straight line, I mean, you have like basically like a 200-300 meter straight, and you just have 2 hairpin corners at the end, and you try and get average speed. And then we also have markers on cones laid out. So even though it's not completely accurate, you can use the DVR to work out your approximate max speed over like the center of the track where you're at your fastest. So we do a combination of both of that testing, mainly track testing, just simply because we find that like a lot of the static thrust tests that people use to sort of gauge like how a motor performs or how a prop performs, like it gives you an indication, but it's not necessarily a true reflection of how it should perform. And really when you get it on track and sort of try to fly it to its best. So that's the other thing that's kind of hard. You got to, you know, you don't necessarily fly 2306 the same as you fly 2207, or you don't fly, say, the GemFan 5149.9 as you would the HQ 5146. They're different handling props. You have to treat them differently. And it's sort of basically just through lots of testing, through using a combination of the static data to sort of get an idea of where you expect it to sit, and actually just flying it on track and going, hang on a second, this one corner just works stupidly well in this prop. What the hell just happened to make this work? And you go, okay, this is how I need to adjust my flying, or you just keep trying doing that corner until eventually you go, oh, there's magic again. Okay, there you go back through your DVR, black box logs, whatever you need to actually, you know, try and work out what just happened, and then try to understand, okay, now this, I'm going to fly this to do better.
Wayne, what's this question that you've put in our chat?
So this came from, who did it come from? I was just pasting in from the
somebody from the chat.
Someone from the chat had a question. There's 2 questions actually.
Good work, guys.
Someone. Let me find it.
It says, do the top racing rigs really lack power still? And could a good pilot do well with a standard setup like a diatone BNF or something?
So I'd argue no quads really lack power. I mean, like, even if you're not using right now, like the top motors, like you're still looking at what 1,600, 1,700 grams of thrust per motor when a whole rig weighs about 500 grams. So, I mean, if you think that lacks power, then I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of power to me. Like, it's not compared to a race quad though. Like the we're at now, we're looking at 2 kilograms of thrust per motor. I mean, I'd say no, it's not lacking power at all. It's, you got to handle it carefully. And obviously too, with the amp draw you're pulling at say 2 kilograms, because like whether you're, you know, running crazy efficiency or not, 2 kilograms of thrust is still 2 kilograms of thrust, and that power has to come from somewhere. So it's like, it's all about how you manage it basically. If you burn it all really quick in some hairpin corners, then you're gonna have nothing left for the rest of the track. You've just got to sort of manage it carefully. You get used to it. It's a really good way to do it if you want to sort of know what that feels like. If you have some old batteries that are like, you know, when batteries sort of end in that 2-week period where they start to sort of deteriorate really fast. Like if you've got a battery right on that level where like they've lost like that sort of initial punch they had when they were new, but they're not really like a bad super saggy pack yet, run that for like until it's down to about 15 volts, but try to go at like your maximum pace you can do safely, and just experiment with where you put throttle on in different parts of the track. Like, you'll find there are some areas where you're almost better off just letting it slide through and not putting power on. And then you'll find you'll actually have a little bit more power, say maybe like an extra 10-20% that you can use in other places. And you just spread that out really, really carefully. And even though you're not necessarily using the throttle the same way you would for, say, like a sprint race, you'll find your average lap times over the course of the entire pack will end up a lot better.
So Fraser Steen, that came from, by the way, that question.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, what I love hearing about is if you're not a racer like me, it's pretty much you're just like, oh, I hope I can get through this hoop. And then I hear Thomas saying, I'm trying not to use power here and just gliding through. So I've got about 20% more to go around this turn. It's like
he is a pro,
analytical management here. And I'm like, damn it, I didn't get through the hoop. I'm on the ground. Never mind.
I'm just imagining Paul with like a white coat and like poor Thomas, like, you know, with the little like sticky things and wires like hanging off him, and he's there with a board, like, you know.
You're standing with a clipboard,
yeah,
sort of write things down.
Aren't those called e-meters? And isn't that a religion? I've heard.
No, man.
That's
Scientology.
Yeah.
That's
not the views of the show. Not the views of the show.
That actually leads nicely on to what Andy's put. MC Creations question asks, why 2306 for the, I think, is it the 6S motor instead of 2207? No, actually he said why 2306 instead of 2207, but I think your 6S motor is 2306 and the 4S is 2207, if I've got that right.
That is correct. So it's actually, well, we've gone 2207.5 and 2306.5. It's one of the ideas we were discussing with T-Motor back in like 2017, but it was sort of like originally the 6S motor was going to be a 2307 1750 kV. That was the first one I tested, and it performed really well from a control standpoint, but it was a little bit heavy, which meant that 1000 milliamp hour batteries were pretty much off the cards altogether. You had to use a 1300, which it would be efficient on, but you still have to sort of treat it a bit carefully, and the top end wasn't quite there how I wanted it. Like, it would get to the top end, but not sort of as snappy as I was hoping for. I think mainly just because of extra strain on the battery. So, like, we told T-Motor about all that, and they were like, well, why don't we try 2306.5? And then they also had some other fancy ideas they wanted to do to lighten up the motor a bunch. And so I was like, yeah, let's see what T-Motor can do, right? Because the thing is with T-Motor, and it's always been like this when we've tried to do our own motors, is that, like, you have an idea, and T-Motor is like, I don't know, 3 steps ahead to like 10 steps ahead. So it's trying to, I mean, I guess it makes sense because, you know, this is what they do. This is their passion. This is, you know, how they're trying to sort of lead everyone. So trying to stay ahead of a company whose job is to work on motors and someone or a group that's as passionate as T-Motor is really, really, really hard. So I pretty much like started off designing this pretty much on my own. And then in the end, it was like, you know what, I've got cool ideas on my own. I want to see what T-Motor can add to this. And then they did a bit of their magic. And then the final result that we produced, I've been really, really happy with. So the 2306.5 we're using for 6L, once again, to take advantage of that bottom efficiency that 6L has really sort of down pat. The other sort of, I don't really know how measurable the benefit is, but because you've got sort of a more torquey motor at the bottom end, it means that it's going to cost less power to do corrections. And by corrections, I'm talking about flight control corrections, and also you as a pilot making a mistake and putting extra inputs in to keep the quad on track, right? And so if you're saving all that just a little bit, right? So you save it a little bit with each mistake you make. Each time the flight controller has to put a correction in to keep the quad going straight, it saves a little bit more power than you would on the 2207. The idea is that because the success, the idea is you're trying to go for a more longer distance, is that that's going to accumulate over the course of the lap, and it really does accumulate. So like even yesterday when I was running 2000 milliamp hour on a 4S on some of my runs, and I was running the 1300 6L, and I was getting on the same, like different motors, but like same rest of the quad except for 1 4-cell, 1 6L, 1 2000, 1 1300. The 6L I was getting like 4 more laps.
2000 is quite a lot for a 4S as well. That's something that I noticed is it's funny because when we were all using 2205, 2206 motors, we were using 1300 4S, and then it went to 1500, and now I'm seeing a Tattoo bringing out 1800, 2000 milliamp 4S, and that is just to deal with the voltage sag, I guess. And actually, because I noticed that you mentioned that you like a lightweight setup, but I guess the term lightweight is going to have changed that from like what it was a couple of years ago, because 2000 milliamp power 4S on anything is going to make it, you know, maybe you're going to struggle to get like under a 300 gram copter that like without the battery, I guess. Or I guess what I'm saying is, you're saying you like a lighter setup, but it's still heavy compared to a couple of years ago with the kind of like size batteries that we use. A 1300 6S is heavy, isn't it? You know.
1300 6S is definitely heavy. It's also based on the track style that you use that on, right? So you look at, say, multi-GP, the tracks tend to be bigger. They have some areas where you sort of like turn in on yourself, so obviously they're going to use a lot of power, having that extra momentum, but sort of overall, having the extra milliamp hours works out more sort of cost effective for the time, you know, basically trying to get the fastest lap time you can in the most laps. So that's why we're using sort of your 1300 6L. On 4-cell, I mainly use 1600 milliamp hour 4-cell. I've only got the 2000s really just to compare between the 4-cell and 6-cell. And then also, for the sake of the FAI Shenzhen race, that was like I think it was 2.6 kilometers race distance that you had to do on 4-cell with a DJI camera.
Wow.
So we sort of had all those batteries left over, which actually worked out really well because it meant that we could do these direct comparisons between 4-cell and 6-cell a lot more easily, because my other 2000s were a little bit old. So it's been good actually getting all that extra data now and being able to see directly 4S versus 6-cell. I had about the lightweight stuff. Yeah. So standard sort of, I think 5-inch race weight now is around about the 300 gram ballpark, like as in with 207s or 306s.
Are you still using Impulse?
The Helix. Was it the Helix? Not the
Well, I haven't been running the Helix lately. I ran the Helix up until maybe, it would have been
Turkey?
September, I think. Yeah, it would have been Turkey. It would have been the last time I used the Helix in a race. I still use the Helixes for training and stuff because they're still like perfectly good platforms. But then I jumped to the XB for a little bit, and then now I'm on a different frame again. So,
are you allowed to say what frame?
Yeah, it's the JS1. So it's pretty cool. I'm very, very happy with running that one. So it's been nice.
Paul, can you still keep up with your son or not? Or is he seconds ahead?
Seconds ahead. It's just stupid. We raced yesterday. We're having he was testing out his motors and what have you. And ironically, the track we're on was a relatively small track. I got down to, was it 8.75? I think it was.
You did 8.75, yeah.
Okay. Thomas always likes to keep 3 seconds ahead of me. And with a track that's that small, 3 seconds was a stupid amount. How close did you get?
I was 0.3 of a second off.
0.3 of a second off. So you were doing 5 seconds something laps, is that right?
Yeah, 5.86 was the best I did. So I got like a few of those. I was very happy. And then I was like, I could go further, but I'm also like getting tired and I'm making mistakes now. And I'm like, one of these mistakes is going to break a quad and then it's going to suck. So I'm just going to be happy with what I got. And then next time.
I'd take 3 seconds off the champ. That wouldn't be too bad. That ain't bad, mate.
So yeah, that was good fun. That track was really good fun. It was a really small track just because we were both a bit tired. We just didn't have the best sleep, and I was like, I just want to practice. The big thing I'm sort of having, or not really having issues with, I think next thing I want to improve sort of in my flying, that's sort of like immediate focus for me, is my changeovers from moving left to right. So whether it's a slalom or just any kind of time where you're changing the center of thrust from the left side of the quad to the right side of the quad, I want to like sort of get those transition points down pat. So the track had a lot of like left, right, but it was sort of instantaneous. So lots of slaloms, offset gates, that kind of thing.
I don't see anything wrong with any of your flying at all. Whenever I see you, I'm just like, wow.
I think it's one of those things that like, you know, I think when you're flying yourself, you can sort of pick your own flying and know, like, oh, I didn't intend to do that. But then when you like watch someone else, you're like, oh, that's really good. Like, oh, can you critique my DVR? And I was like, it looks fine to me. It looks really great. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. And then they're like, oh, yeah, but what about this mistake, that mistake? It's like, well, it's one of those things. I think it depends. Like, as the person that flew the pack, you can sort of, you know, you can see more basically because you know what you're intending to do and what the DVR should look like, so to speak. So yeah.
Yeah, I was interested when you said you were doing some tests in like straight line speed to sort of like see what the difference in average speed between your two motors were. And are there actually races that are done like that, or is that just a test that you were doing to compare the motors? Because this is something I think we're missing. I probably say this every 2 or 3 episodes. I think we should be doing drag racing with quadcopters.
Yeah.
But
people do drag racing in Australia with quads. It usually happens only at the fun meets, but we do have drag races. I haven't done any of them. It's not my interest really. But
sorry about him. He's like still back in the early 2000s and Fast and Furious. Andy, I see you living your life a quarter of a mile at a time.
I still got the blue lights under my car. Although it's a diesel, although it's a diesel Astra, it's not quite as.
Gonna have that fully stick underglow and the turbo whooshes.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, we're like our quadcopters are even worse than that these days. They're covered in LEDs, so we can't say anything about all that. I think
it's cool.
It's all about the LDO family, yeah. I think a big chain.
I think like though around a racetrack. I'm probably not in a position to say because like I don't do racing, but I think these copters, I do a lot of speed runs, and that's how I've learned. I've got a radar gun, and it's pretty accurate and consistent, which is why I've got certain information on the differences between a 2207 and a 2306 data. And funnily enough, like when talking about top speed, the fastest copters that exist are not 5-inch when it comes to top speed. They are 3-inch. And I wondered what you thought about have you ever maybe flown like, and when I'm talking to like 3-inch, there's like 3-inch copters can do 112 mile per hour, whereas most race copters that I've built with a 2207 or 2306 are doing 103 mile per hour. Now you could argue
that's Thomas's average speed.
Hang on. 100. Okay, so 112 is 180. That's what my Helix could do about 2 years ago. So.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
you're talking kilometers, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, what's 112 miles? Yeah, 180. I think that's about the same as what 5-inches do. We've got a test 3-inch that someone gave to us at the Avalon International Airshow race to try. It's like a full 3D printed shell thing that's meant to be like a super efficient, like sort of straight line monster. So I need to try it. I just haven't had a chance to bind it up yet. And the other thing is too, because it's 3D printed, I'm kind of terrified of like, if I hit something, what the results will be. It's somewhere on like the big like shelf thing in like the table room.
It's in my bedroom. I told you never to come in my bedroom. Oh no, that's Andy RT.
You see, the fastest when it comes to speed, the fastest 5-inch copter I've ever recorded, and this was it was actually a floss, the kebab floss, but the V1. It weighed, I think it was 225 grams. They got 2206 motors on them, but they were almost, I think, just shy of 3000 kV. Oh, look at that thing. What is that?
It looks like a little piggy.
It looks like a vase.
This is the quad that Thomas is talking about. But he hasn't tested it. He's supposed to test it out. So it's all pretty much ready to go.
That looks like it's designed to be a drag racing thing.
It looks tricky to land.
Not rather than a race.
That's cool.
It looks like...
Yeah, I think it's just a launcher.
A mix between a quadcopter and a butt plug.
I was waiting for something along those lines.
Yeah.
Mum, what's a butt plug?
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that thing goes because like I've never designed a quad like that. So yeah, I mean, you know, it'll be interesting just to see how it performs in someone else's.
I've been finding, you know, when building race copters against these 3-inch copters. Also, what I think is missed with the 3-inch copters, you can thrash it and still get. I mean, we're talking full throttle most of the time and get a 3-minute flight time. If you back off, you can get a 5-minute flight time. Whereas with the 5-inch, it's sort of 2 minutes, and whether it's 6S or 4S, your batteries at the end. So I kind of have this theory, but maybe I'm completely wrong because again I don't race. But from what I see from at least the top speeds, for 3-inch certainly is outpacing 5-inch. And when you say your Helix did like 180, going back to the fastest 5-inch that I ever built, it did 125. Actually, no, it wasn't the Floss. It was the Mode 2 by the RC Addict. That was it. It did 125 mile per hour, and that's the fastest I could get a 5-inch to go. But these modern these modern race copters with the 2-3 stator, I find that top speed is not their thing. It's the middle part, which is great around a racetrack. But I wouldn't put my bets on a 2-3 stator motor in a drag race. I don't think. I go really light. I would go high kV, and I'd go small in stator size, because that's what I found from, like, you know, my speed tests and stuff. But obviously the racetrack and in a straight line is obviously or should I say drag racing is a completely different ball game, as it is with, you know, racing cars. Formula One cars are designed to go around corners quicker. There are jet drag cars that would absolutely destroy them. So I suppose it's that sort of thing. But yeah, I was just interested in. I wonder how Thomas would get on with some of these 3-inch copters that I'm building, or even the RTFs. I got an RTF 3-inch model sent. It was actually made by Skyzone. They don't make it anymore, and that's the one that got 112 mile per hour, which, like, says about 180 kilometers, which incredible speed for such a small model, and it's under the 250 gram limit, which just ridicules that weight as well, I think, because you wouldn't want that. Even though it's sub 250 grams, I would not want that flying into me. So, anyways, that's we won't go there.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying one of those 3-inch frames. I know all the 3-inches I've tried haven't been faster than my 5-inch rigs, or had more flight time. But it could just be the batteries and stuff I'm running. Like the quad I've actually had a lot of success with is a 2.5-inch. But we go down to those really small, like 1106 motors and stuff.
Yeah,
and like those, I guess, because the weight just drops right off the quad. All of a sudden, you got like a quad that might be, say, like 140 grams that goes down to like 70 something. And then it's just like, those I find, like, I guess the surface area you get with the props for, like, the power you're able to put into them is really good.
Yeah. I think it's really specific as well what I'm talking about, because there's quite a broad spectrum of 3-inch models, because these 3-inch models that I'm talking about are like brute force, so they're running 15 stator motors, fit like 1506, 1507, but then there's some people running like 1106 on 3-inch, and those aren't quite as fast, so I would say, like, if you're trying 3-inch, I'd be really interested in what you thought about these big beefy motors that are on the. I would say the 15 stator motor is, you would, if you go any bigger than that, I've tried 16 stator on 3-inch, and then you start to lose performance because the motor's too big or whatever. but I'd love to see you try like a 3-inch copter with like some gem fan. There's a whole community who are into this. You know, the best prop is probably the gem fan 3052, so high pitch prop. But because the battery is almost as big as the copter, people don't like that either. But
it does look a bit weird.
It looks weird, but they're just mad. And because they are sub 250 gram, they turn on a dime. When I like try and turn a 5-inch really quick, there's a delay. With these 3 inches, you can be on full throttle and do a complete U-turn, and it does it instantly, because they're so much lighter.
I've seen Thomas do that with a 5-inch.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying. Imagine what he could do if I can't do that with a 5-inch, but I can with a 3. Imagine what Thomas can do as well. So I'd love to see.
I don't want to try it. Can you send me a build list of one of these? Send me a build list of that you think would be the best track performing one. I think
there's a good ready to fly one, isn't there?
No comment on that one at the moment. There may or may not be some issues with it.
Doesn't reflect the view of the show or host.
Yeah, but he didn't mention it a name.
Paul, how you been, man? You all right?
No, I've been fine. We've just been busy with all the projects that Thomas has had going, which is just very demanding on time.
You're not awake, are you, mate?
No, I'm still half asleep, man. Half asleep.
No.
I was so late last night. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll send those specs over, Thomas, and see what you think about them. Yeah.
It's funny actually. One of the other guys, the UK guys that we met at the. So do you guys know about the MIDRT, the Military International Drone Racing Tournament, at all?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So the British Armed Forces guys, one of them actually runs 4-inch quads, and he's building these 6-cell 4-inch quads that I think weigh 200 grams, 200 and something, all up with battery. And his latest DVR he posted was really, really fast. It was really impressive, and that was with a 4-inch.
What link to that? Stick in the chat.
This is something else that's happening with 3-inch. I've got coming on the way two different 6S 3-inch copters, and I'm excited about those because what you do with
it counts.
When the problem is the batteries don't exist, so NJ, funnily enough, helped me to make a connector. I haven't got it.
Jack could make you a battery. I've seen him do that before. It's quite scary.
2 3S in series, then.
Yeah, 2 3S. Yeah, 2 3S in series, basically. Yeah. So and when you do the calculations of the KV motors that they are using, it's higher than it works out higher than 4S when you do the whole times the KV by the number of volts, etc. So so 3-inch is going 6S as well, which I think is quite exciting.
Bloody hell.
So I had a question for you guys, and it's about, we sometimes talk about the racing scene over here, and it was kind of like a few years ago, there was a great big explosion, like this is going to be the next big thing, this is going to be massive, everyone's going to be doing it, and it seems to have sort of died off a bit, and some people have left the hobby, and we're sort of public enemy #1 in a lot of places because of fake incidents at Gatwick and stuff. So I just wanted to get your interpretation of how it was in Australia towards the popularity of drone racing, how the public feel about it. Is it still growing? Do you think it's a sort of more mainstream than it was, or has it it's got its own scene now?
In Australia, it's definitely grown a lot bigger than what it was, and it's definitely still growing. I think probably the big difference is that a lot of people have gotten used to the rate at which the hobby is growing. Used to say with racing, you get used to improving at a certain rate, right? You expect to go to a training session at level A, and by the end of it, be X amount better than what you were at the start, right? And I think what's happened in the hobby is, especially with how explosive the growth was from nothing to what it is now, people have gotten used to how quickly it's growing, and that rate of growth is now considered normal. So whenever it's a bit below that or a bit high, even if it's still growing, it feels like it's not growing as it should be.
You've got a little bit more space to fly as well there, haven't you?
Yeah, we do have more space, and we're kind of lucky in that sense. And we've also had two events that happened, one last year and one this year, that really helped promote, I suppose, drone racing in such a positive way. We had the MIDRT, which was run by the Australian Army, and it was for military personnel that Thomas attended as a VIP guest of that. So that was really good because the Army sort of got behind it and said, look, this is a really good sport. It's positive for injured soldiers all the way through to STEM programs and just basically, people learning and, developing. And then from there, only a couple of months ago, I think it was, we had the, what was it called? Was the Australian International Air Show, drone racing happening. And once again, that was run by the Australian Army. And that was running a full-on drone race at the Australian International Air Show. So that was another big positive event that was actually run. I mean, you've got the Australian Army sort of saying this is a really good, positive sport. And it's really hard for CASA or anyone else to turn around and say, well, no, it's not. You know what I mean? So in that sense, we've had their backing. So in that sense, it's actually been really, really positive. And I think we've had a pretty good run in Australia at the moment.
Forceful takeover.
Yes. Yep.
Are your motors for sale in England yet? And do you know who sells them in England?
I was just going to ask that myself.
I should know that.
It's I think Dad, did you put it on the YouTube link in the description?
I know you can get them from Get FPV because that's what
I was going to say. Like our US audience is still bigger than our UK audience, so that might be a better one.
Oh, I'm going there soon, so
I imagine even if because I guess that's not up to Thomas either. It really what shops it ends up in. I mean, like our favorite stores, Quadcopters, Drone is Life, Hobby RC. I guess they will find ways to get them in stock. Hopefully, we would hope. I guess it would be the answer to that. Otherwise, yeah.
Only smashing the place up.
Oh, I suppose we could ask the question: Will they be available, like in Chinese stores? Because a lot of people buy from those stores. The Bangoods and the Hobby Kings. Will they be there? Do T-Motor have? I think T-Motor do have their motors on there, or are they cloned? Is it a conspiracy?
You can buy T-Motors from Banggood. Are they real T-Motors there? Is the question.
Yeah.
No, I've got no idea. I put a list there for one of the UK stores that should have them, I think.
You're the guest, right? And we want to hear you say stuff. So don't just type stuff.
That's okay.
Just talk over it. Andy, shut up. Sorry.
But yeah, we haven't sort of been in control of the distribution or anything like that. I mean, the only main input we wanted with the motors was how they were going to be built. And I mean, Thomas drove T-Motor absolutely nuts. Your motors were supposed to be out, 6 months ago, Tom?
More than 6 months ago. They were like mid-2017 wanting to do this. And it was early after we met with T-Motor in China where I was like, okay, I've got an idea of what I want to do. Like literally, okay. So I had the idea in China of like what I wanted it to look like, just like looking at their motors and the stuff they did. I was like, okay, I know what I want to do. When we flew home, I had maybe 5 hours of sleep, woke up, and then it was about like, it was just the times that we got into Australia and stuff. It was like sort of morning. And so then I woke up, had an idea, had breakfast, and started designing.
Wow, that's
cool. It's worth mentioning too that when he actually did all the design work and all that, and once we started getting motors manufactured, he kept going backwards and forwards with T-Motor, getting him to remanufacture other prototypes because he wasn't happy with them, and literally drove. I reckon he would have driven them absolutely, totally nuts. Go on.
I was going to say, are you sure? Like the backing of the army. Do you mean backing as in they're trying to clone Thomas? Because I've had a bit of a run-in with old Frank.
Disclaimer needs to be read again, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. You can make a missile go that fast.
They were interested in recruiting you, were they, Tom? They wanted to recruit you? The Army,
they were.
Air Force?
That was pretty good. That was pretty funny. So that was like, it was great to the MIDRT. It was like, I joined Navy for this and this. I joined Army for this and this. They're all like, things that they actually do really cool stuff. I think it was cool. I did some work experience with the Army too, in the lead up to the MIDRT. And like, a lot of the stuff they do, even though I couldn't obviously see everything because, you know, I'm a civilian, like the stuff they could show me was pretty spectacular. I was like, damn, this is actually a pretty cool lifestyle. So I think it's cool how like it's like it's its own community, like on base. Like they've got like their shops there and like a tailor thing to like fix up all the clothes and like have everything all nice and done properly. And it's like it's a whole community, but like on a military base thing. And there's just like helicopters that are just like, oh, that's a really cool military helicopter flying past, and oh, we're gonna work on that one today. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So
did they try and send some nice looking army women over to try and recruit in? That would have been my strategy. Sorry, Frank, carry on.
I was going to say, because you've been to a lot of quite big races now. What's been your proudest title?
Oh, I really don't know. Okay, I think probably the one. It's hard to say. Okay, so they're all. I mean, all the races I've been to have had a cool story, right? And at least for me, I like them all. But like, I think maybe my best one would have been the IO. Like that was 2 wins. That was the spec race and the World Cup. But sort of the way the races happened and the way everything sort of built up and climax in the final race, and even the fact to add schoolwork in between, so it was like this massive like scheduling balance, like the whole story that sort of led up to it. I guess that's probably the one that's got the most meaning for me and the most sort of backstory. So it's the one I sort of connect with the most. But then for the same token, like my last race at the Aussie Open and the Australian International Air Show, like that was probably the strongest racing I've ever done. Where, I mean, it was a combination of things going right, which rarely happens at races, but it's like the things that normally go wrong just sort of didn't go wrong. But like even I was really on it for the entire event. I was just comfortable, which, I mean, you have in practice days, but having that happen at a race day was probably like one of the best things I could ask for. So that's probably the most sort of things went to plan, which is really satisfying. But then the IO sort of had the story and the climax, which is something that's definitely better to tell as a story, and it's something that's probably more rewarding.
So what's the IO? Sorry.
Yeah, where is it based as well?
Muncie, Indiana is the IO.
Oh.
So International Open is referred to the multi-GP International Open.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
but there's also not races that you haven't won that have been just as rewarding, like Shenzhen.
Yeah, Shenzhen was a really rewarding one. There were a few things that were rewarding about that one.
Tony was very disappointed at your performance then. So me and Tony were watching that.
And I was there too.
Yep. Oh yeah.
It was a fun race. That was like, it was the track was really cool, and I was really happy. Like I was on pace, and all that was nice.
So you went down in Tony's opinion.
It was alright. It was a fun race. It was they had issues with the broadcasting equipment blasting on 900 megahertz.
Excuses.
So
back to the test lab.
Professional racing driver.
But with our setup though that we got for that, that's also when we were doing like at pretty much at that point I'd already committed to like what motor sizes I wanted and stuff. So my motors were already like pretty much well on their way at that point. But we had F60 Pro 2s on that setup, 2700 kVs with the 5146s, and pretty much everyone at the event was like, those motors are too high a kV, you're not going to be able to make the distance, and those props are too aggressive a pitch, and we're not running big enough batteries. And
so everything was wrong. Basically, the motors, the props, and the battery were considered wrong by everyone.
Yeah, and then, but we had a little test data to sort of back up because the track was released 2 months early, so we had our test data already worked out. We were like, this should work. Like, we both agree that the setup seemed wrong. Like, we were expecting to run 2306, 24.
But the data indicated it wasn't wrong.
Yeah. And so there was a few reasons for that, like, say, props flexing and stuff, just sort of scratching the surface. But we're like, this setup should work from the data we've got. And it worked way better than we expected. Like, we've the batteries on comfortable voltage, and it was just perfectly controllable. The throttle range we expected to be hanging in where it should be most efficient, we were in the whole time for the race. So when things were going right, it was just like great.
And the real proof was just before the final, just crashed out because of lockout with Crossfire. So we lost control, he crashed out, and basically went into, instead of the top 4, the next 4, I think it was. Is that right, Tom? As in 5th all the way through to 8th. And when you were in that division, Thomas at that point had really like cracked it because he was really cheesed off that he wasn't in the final. So he went out and we were just going to smash the time as best he could.
Whoa.
Which he did. So he set, well, oh, wow. So he set the fastest time. Was that fastest time, Tom?
That was fastest race time, yeah. Fastest time
Fastest
the
race time.
I think.
It was about 6 seconds faster than the final. And the beauty was that, so it was definitely without doubt a fast lap. When he landed on 3.75 per cell. So that setup we absolutely nailed. Thomas,
You can tell he's in Australia.
How would that be, Tony, if it was flat?
Fall off.
Oh, well, he fell off.
Oh, you let something slip there, Tone, I think.
Oh, with the stands? Those stands are so slidey. Like, they had a rubber on there, but it was like, whatever was on the top layer, like, to make it smooth, like, it was actually slippery. So, that was annoying. But,
we were all just gutted for you when it went wrong. We were like, no, we were all shouting at the TV and stuff, but it was...
Yeah, I was hoping for a bit more just with the way I was performing, but it was actually a really good event. Like, overall, it was a cool event from, obviously, the track was spectacular, the racing was really great, but meeting everyone there, because there were a lot of people there that I hadn't met before, and a lot of people, too, that I met, like, in Hawaii 2 years ago, and so being able to meet up with all those people was just, like, it was really good. It was, like, the event was, like, the racetrack and everything was good, but they ran the event really slow. You get, like, an average of 2 batteries a day. So
wow, that's not a lot.
That's basically you do your 2 packs, and then you'd spend the rest of the day just like catching up with people that you hadn't like spoken to in ages, or people that you'd only spoken to online. And so it was one of the few events where I got to actually spend time with people more properly and actually just like, you have your 2 minutes of focus or like 8 minutes of focus, and then you would be like, okay, now we can talk about it. Only really on the race day and the first practice day when we had heaps of packs, you like focus on the flying primarily, but then the rest of the days you could actually just like talk to people, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
that's
the bit I do miss. That.
The Brits, we were conspicuous by our absence, apart from Eric on race control.
Yeah, what happened to us? No one went there, did they?
We're not allowed to. We really upset them.
I think we just managed to not get ourselves organised in time, from what I can tell.
Shall I read out Fraser's question to Thomas?
Yeah. Last question.
It says, an evil genie forces you to swap your flying skills with another pilot so that you can race against yourself. Who do you swap with?
What a great question.
Whoa. What's that happening on my webcam thing?
Just an advert. Don't worry.
I just downloaded an app. I was like, I'm gonna use this app and see what happens.
It's just giving out your credit.
Okay, wait. What's the racetrack? What racetrack are we on?
Anything, Tom?
Anything.
The evil genies one.
But like, is it? So are we talking like a
your
Korean
favorite
track, indoor track?
Your favorite
track?
race? Your favorite track?
Oh gosh, what's my favorite track? I have so many favorite tracks. Wait, big track or small track?
Oh my god, Tom, you're killing me.
Big track.
I don't know. Okay.
It's sunny out. There's no wind.
I'm probably gonna swap with MCK. I'm gonna swap with Minchan, I think, on a big track.
Yeah.
So I think that's yeah. And I think if it was a tight track, I'd probably want to swap with Evan, because Evan's like the god of tight tracks right now. So
yeah, he's killing it.
Yeah, heads up FPV. He's got that down pat. So I think it was a tight track. Yeah, I'd go Evan. Big track, I'd go Minchan.
I think it's fair to say that you probably do race yourself in a way, though, anyways, to bet yourself. As in, you'll record a lap time, and you are racing essentially yourself to do better. So you kind of do race yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. A lot of people like the social sort of I like social flying too, but I find I still get a lot out of just sort of training on my own and just sort of like you know, having sort of the track to myself and going, okay, now how am I going to approach this? How am I going to approach that? I think it's a balance. Like, you know, if I did just the flying on my own without socializing with people, that like it wouldn't work. And I think if I just like flew all the time with other people and didn't spend sort of time on the track with just myself to sort of focus on, like that wouldn't work either.
That's
So
the
it's
worst
definitely
thing, isn't it? About turning up at a track and you get. Sometimes I've been to races when you turn up, and you get one battery, and you just got to. That's it. You're racing your next.
we have some.
Tough.
I think it depends on the meet you
No
go to. I think if you go to any big meets, yeah, it's like that. But like a lot of like the say East Side practice days and stuff are really relaxed, and so you just sort of like you put your name on like a board to like queue up on your channel,
yeah,
and then they just cycle through it, and so you actually get a lot of batteries in. Like pretty much, I think I've only done it maybe 4 or 5 times. Like I usually just do small meets with other people, but like when I've gone to the proper East Side practice days, like. I've gone through all my packs every time, pretty much, except for the one time that I came there like midday just to let someone try a quad, and then I had to go. So I only did 2 batteries, but like
and they
every other
broke
time,
what you made.
they did, but it was funny. It was okay. It was just like one dumb mistake, and I kind of like, you know, when you let someone else use your quad on a racetrack with other quads, you sort of expect things are probably going to go wrong. So it's not that big a deal. I knew what I was
Let me share this story. This is Tilted FPV, one of our mates. He was in Australia without a doubt. He wants to try out Thomas's 2000 kV 6S motors. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay, so he wanted to try those motors out, and Thomas had the prototypes. They were hand wound and everything, but they were pretty much exactly the same as the production ones, other than not having the writing on them. So Tilted's gone to fly Thomas's quad, and I've told him these are the only 4 motors in existence. Flew really well, loved it, and happy to take one wrong turn and had a full-on head-on with someone. And what did he do to the motor? He killed it, didn't he?
Yeah, well, just it popped off on the MCK because the motors only have like 2 bolts for support, and it doesn't have any carbon to support the other bolts. When you have a crash, the motors just sort of fall off and then rip the wires out. So, yeah. That's
so they felt really, really bad. We thought it was the funniest thing ever. That's the, I mean,
yeah,
I
like,
really
even I was
Thomas
like,
was the bus,
all I was because I already had the production ones coming, and I like, you know, I just wanted other people to experience what the motors were like before they, you know, went for it. So that way, like, yeah, you know, why not people see what the motor feels like before they buy it? Just because we were in that position. So yeah, that was good. So it was cool to watch him fly it actually and watch him handle and get used to it. So
good feedback,
yeah.
Blind testing, I guess you could call that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, guys, we've got to call it there. But thank you. You've been listening to Let's Drone Out. You've been joined by Andrew / Frank.
Bye.
You've been joined by, he might be able to breathe through his ears. Oh, wait, he's single like me, Andy RC.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for watching and listening.
He's very sexy, ladies. Just so you know.
What was that? What was that?
I set that up. We've been joined by BSM Web. Paul?
BMS Web.
Yeah, good morning or good evening, depending on where you are.
Hello.
We've been joined by, sponsored by InLow HD, brings HD footage to your phone. Thomas.
Bye.
We've been joined by my little Tony.
Bonjour, thank you too for getting up early. I know it's early over there.
Yep.
Oh, good. It's awesome to hang out with you.
Yep. We sent NJ over as our mediator.
That was a little while ago, though.
Yeah,
wasn't
I
it?
know. Hopefully he will be back soon. We've been joined by our little drop bear, Tony.
Bonjour.
And my favourite curry kitten.
Goodbye. And I must just read out Ladder's last one. It says special goodbye to Jack's foreskin. That's a lovely note to end on.
What?
It's not going though. It's going to be with me.
It's gonna be.
That's creepy.
So if you want to go and say hello to Jack's foreskin, I'll have it around my neck at the mini air show.
Ah, it's not ready.
30K, 11th of May.
Yay! And I've been Bright Till I Fly, and I'm so sorry about this show.
Love it.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.